Hello everyone! I was just browsing the internet, as I usually do, and I came across a photo of Carlsen's sister Ingrid on Twitter, and whenever I see a photo of her, I think to myself, so that's what Magnus would look like with long hair, as they are incredibly similar, which you can see from the photo here. So then I thought, I know Carlsen has three sisters, but I never knew if any of them played chess. So I checked the database at chessgames.com. It seems both Ingrid and Ellen play chess. Ingrid is rated around 1600, although she doesn't play anymore, since the database only covers games from 2007 to 2010. So I don't think she's an active player. And Ellen is rated around 1950. So, since no YouTube channel ever showed a game by Ingrid Carlsen, I decided to show one. It was played in 2010, it is the Gibraltar Open Tournament, and she has the white pieces against Nadja Reci from Switzerland. So let's see this game. E4, E5, knight to F3, D6, the Philidor defense. We have D4, and in this position, I'm sure you'll remember bishop to G4 is the opera house move, one of the most criticized moves in chess history. So in the game we have E captures on D4, which isn't a mistake, but this is generally something you don't want to do, ever. Because by capturing, you allow knight captures on d5, and you only allowed white to improve the position of his knight. He was on f3, now he's closer to the center, and it's a much nicer square for the knight. Better in this position than capturing on d4 would be something like knight to d7 or knight to f6 and continuing the game, you know. It's best to always follow that old saying, to take is a mistake. If you don't gain anything by capturing, don't capture. But okay, in the game we have e captures on d4, knight captures on d4, and knight to f6, developing a piece with a tempo, attacking the e4 pawn, knight to c3, defending, bishop to e7, preparing to castle, bishop to e2, also preparing to castle, Nadja castles, bishop to e3 now, bishop to e6, and Ingrid castles. Queen to d7 is played, and here Ingrid captures the bishop, knight captures on e6, which again isn't a mistake or anything. You know, you grabbed a bishop with a knight. Now you have the bishop pair. White still has a very comfortable game. But maybe something other than capturing the bishop, an interesting line would be f4. Now threatening, of course, f5 to trap this bishop on e6, and after something like bishop to g4, push e5, and after bishop captures bishop, queen captures bishop, d captures on e5, f captures on e5, and knight to d5. White has this interesting idea of rook captures on f7. If you capture the rook, you get e6. The knight is protecting the pawn on e6, and after something like knight captures on c3, e captures on f7 with check, king captures, and b captures on c3. White would have a very comfortable game here. The queen is coming to c4 with great tempo. The rook is coming to f1. This would be great for white. But okay, in the game, after queen d7, knight captures on e6 was played. And now it does seem more appropriate to capture with the queen. You don't want to mess up the defense of your king. But Nadja plays f captures on e6. And okay, you do now get another central pawn. You open up the f file for your rook, but it might have been better to capture with queen captures on e6. Now Ingrid plays f4. We have e5 and f5. Here knight to c6, bishop to f3. Adding more protection to the e4 pawn, so knight to d5 can be played. So this is like a preparation move. a6, and now g4, preparing g5. h6 was played, and now knight to d5. And here you definitely want to capture this knight on d5, as it's an extremely powerful piece. You don't want to allow knight captures on e7. So something like knight captures on d5, queen captures on d5 with check, king h7, and it's a much more comfortable position for white, but black can hold this. But after knight to d5, Nadja decided to go for an ambitious move, knight to h7, probably preparing something like bishop to g5 to exchange the dark square bishop. But of course this isn't allowed. Knight captures on e7 with check. Queen captures on e7 and c3, controlling that knight, so the knight can't really jump into play. King to h8. Probably getting the king out of this diagonal, so the queen can't jump to d5 with tempo. Maybe if this knight moves, the b7 pawn would be vulnerable, and maybe with ideas of rook to g8, who knows. Queen to e1 now, preparing queen to g3, knight to d8, trying to get the knight to help out with the defense of the king. H4 now, and h4 is the strongest move recommended by the engine. Knight to f7, but already this knight to f7 move is looking for trouble. You have a knight on f7 and you have a knight on h7. This pawn is coming to g6. Queen to g3. Now preparing g5. King to g8, and this is a weird move. I don't really understand this move. Maybe making room for the knight on h8, but who knows? Maybe a better move here for black would be something like rook to g8 to maybe try and open up the position with g6 and capture on f5. But okay. King to g8 was played, and now king to h1 by Ingrid, preparing the rook to come to the g file. And here c5 was played, and the c5 doesn't really stop any of white's plans on the king side. A better choice would be something like d5. As the white is attacking on the king side, you do want to break open the center. And after something like rook 8 to d1 and rook 8 to d8, if e captures on d5, then knight to d6, preparing the pawn to e4 move, and maybe black would get some counterplay. White is better, of course, but definitely better than this c5 move. So rook to g1, adding more pressure to the g file, and queen to f6 now. And this is of course the mistake that cost Nadja the game. Here probably was the last try to go for something like d5, and after g5, h captures, and after knight to d6, black would have a very hard game after f6. Black is falling apart here. So Nadja didn't go for this slightly better defense. After rook to g1, she played queen to f6, and this allows the immediate g5. This now comes with a tempo on the queen, so after h captures on g5 and h captures on g5, in this position Nadja resigned the game, as of course, as I mentioned, that knight to f7 was looking for trouble. After queen to e7, g6 would have been played, and one of the knights is going down with check. So this never happened. After this h captures on g5, Nadja resigned the game, and Ingrid won this nice game in 23 moves. So yeah, like I said, no channel ever showed a game by Carlsen's sister, so I decided to show one. And if any of you are interested, like I said, Ellen is higher rated, around 1950. So if any of you feel like investigating chessgames.com, if you can find an interesting game by Ellen, feel free to suggest, and I will show that one as well. So yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. And I am getting fairly close to 50,000 subscribers. I will definitely make some kind of an interesting stream on Saturday, and maybe I will try to prepare a chess quiz, as a lot of you have been asking for a chess quiz. So I'm planning a tournament. Also, if I will be able to prepare a chess quiz in a way for it to work, because last time we did have some problems, because some people have faster internet, so they get the question sooner than the other players. I have no idea how this happens. It just does. But the guy who won the quiz was actually Tom from Slovenia, and he actually won a lot of chess quizzes. So I don't think the problem was really in his internet connection. He said he knew all the questions except two, but you know, they weren't pretty easy questions. So yeah, just wanted you to know that, and I am seriously taking suggestions on what to do for the giveaway, as you know, it would be okay to do a nice giveaway for the 50,000 subscribers milestone. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to share in the comment section. So yeah, I would like to thank John Carter for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check two of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon.